Hi, and welcome to another edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michelle. Of course, we are coming from you live from Los Angeles, and it's definitely been a series of very sad and devastating days here. First, the shooting in Thousand Oaks, and didn't have much time to process that or talk about that, and then the forest fires that are still happening right now. They have contained them, I think, up to 30% in our area, but the Camp Fire in Northern California is still very dangerous. All I can say right now, if you're in the position to help, please do so. Please volunteer or donate. I'll be sharing some links after the show when we archive this show that are great places to donate. Unfortunately, during this time, some people might try to take advantage of donations, and always just do a little research. There's sites like Charity Navigator that let you know how much money goes directly to helping people, so always check that out. But I will share some ones that I recommend for sure. And as always, during tragedies like this, you see American spirit really unite us. So you see strangers helping strangers and neighbors helping neighbors. But the question remains, how do we keep that unity amongst us all year long when we just desperately need it so much right now? I'm a big believer that the way forward is through micro actions, things that we can all do to be kinder and more understanding to each other. I also believe at this point in history, we need to have a different relationship and a better relationship with change and learning. I'm personally looking into ways that I can just learn something new each day, small ways, but just to keep the practice of learning happening each day. And as I develop these, I'm going to share them with you. Just doing a lot of research around that right now. And I know my guest today also leans strongly towards learning, especially via healing aspects. So joining us today is Rocio Villasenor, who has a Bachelor's of Science degree from USC and a specialist certificate from the Spanish Institute of B&E. B&E stands for BioNeuroEmotion. Rocio is the mother of a 21-year-old daughter who was diagnosed at an early age with epilepsy, cerebral palsy, and many other mental delays. In her relentless search to find alternative healing methods to improve her daughter's quality of life, and having exhausted all conventional methods, she found B&E. It was through her discovery and education that she's been able to dramatically improve her daughter's quality of life, a job that started with her own transformation. As a result of this, she is now dedicated to helping improve the lives of many people that come to her by helping them find ways through physical healing and overall well-being through the application of B&E. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So we have known each other. We were trying to figure this out before the show, how long we've known each other. We were in Toastmasters together.
Yes.
Would we figure this out?
2005, 2006.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
A long time. We don't get to see each other much, but when we do, it's just always such a pleasure. So I'm really glad that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I love seeing you every time I see
you.
you.
It's like a love fest. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so I always say, I get to share what's on my mind when I start the show, and I always want to give the guest that's sitting in that chair the same opportunity to do so. And I also think this is a really important question to ask each other right now, just be in the practice of really connecting. And so the question is, what has your attention right now?
Well, surprisingly, about 2 days ago, my dad sent me a video of a study that was done and is still being done in Harvard University. And this study it's been taking place, I think it's been for many generations, and it's about what makes human beings happy. And so I think most of us understand that we are in pursuit either of money or power or fame or whatever. So they've been taking all sorts of different qualities that might make a human being happy, and at the end of the day, after all these years and years and years of studies, and they have come to realize that the main thing that makes people happy is a human relationship factor. That there is nothing else that can make people happier than having these relationships. Having someone to take care of you at the end of the day, having someone to talk to at the end of the day is what makes a difference. And I wonder if that is in fact the truth, which seems to be the truth, then why don't we invest more time in relationships?
Do you see why I wanted her here?
It's just that
it's so, I feel the same way.
But exactly,
Yeah.
I knew you probably would
Yeah.
say that. But this is, I mean, when my dad sent me this, and I started thinking, unfortunately, society nowadays makes it even more difficult for us to invest time with each other.
Yeah.
Because our jobs demand so much time from ourselves. And then the drive, and then the cell phone that takes so much of your attention that there is almost no time left even to have a meaningful relationship with your own kids,
Yeah.
with your own children. And I'm wondering if that is the reason why so many people are just so unhappy lately.
Oh, of course. I mean, because you're 100% right, and I know some of these studies. I think Professor Sean Ackert is one of them that's wrote books about it. Many studies around people that are able to fight off illness and live longer. They have the best relationships.
Right.
Relationships allow us to reflect love. They check us. They help us
Right.
grow. We need the validation of being seen, heard, and loved, and that's what relationships are there for,
Right.
the growing and just in the loving energy. And so, yeah, tons of studies that show us this, and I 100% agree that all of these things, but we don't work on it, and we don't work on it because we're seduced by consumerism.
I agree.
We're constant and of all kinds. So when you're Netflixing and chilling, that's consuming. When when you're watching a commercial and going, "Ooh, that's the ideal way that I'm supposed to be beautiful," and you buy some new skin product, you're consuming. All of this stuff that takes us away from this being the most interesting thing that we have, the opportunity to connect. Is not making us well, and then you add, and this is the thing that I just keep warning about, where we do need to sit down and practice and talk, is then you add in artificial intelligence and automation taking jobs away, and all of these things that will further isolate us and take us away from human encounters. We just we can no longer have a conversation about wellness and leadership without addressing what kind of exercises that we can do between us to relate better.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's what has been in my mind in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, girl, you're in the church of that, because this is really why I do this show.
Yeah.
I mean, I really can't stress that enough, and I think in our new year we talk off camera all the time of what we'll continue to do with the show, and I see learning is a big part of it. How do we learn more about each other, and how do we just make this more of a practice?
I agree.
If we're going to go to a yoga studio and exercise our body, what does exercising our ability to relate look like? That's the question that keeps me up at night. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I first want to hear about what really is BNE. Can you explain that? I know it's kind of complicated, but
it is. It is really complicated because it's not just a concept, but it's a whole way of life.
Yeah.
And BNE, as you say, stands for BioNeuroEmotion. Bio stands for body, neuro for your brain, and emotion is how your brain processes the emotions that you are experiencing, and eventually they land in your body.
Yeah.
Because we get sick not just because, but the definition of a physical symptom, according to BNE, is an emotional conflict that hasn't been processed, or you're not even conscious of this conflict. It hasn't been resolved in an emotional way, so it becomes an illness or a symptom. And that's basically kind of what it is.
What I hear when you say that, and I can relate to that, is I always say when I get sick, that's my body telling me you didn't take good care of yourself. You let yourself get wore down. It's not, the sickness is not the issue. It's what was I doing to lead me to the sickness?
And what, for example, and what aspects, what were you thinking when you were eating that food? Or what were you thinking when you lost your keys that recreated, for example, I just had I lost my keys, my car keys, and I was so angry before I went to bed because I lost my keys. I woke up in the middle of the night with an upset stomach, wanting to throw up, and I realized it was that anger that I swallowed.
Yeah.
And so it's every time that we get sick, there is a reason behind. There is an emotional conflict behind. But BNE is a lot more than that. BNE is a practice that takes spiritual concepts along with scientific information combined together to find the root of an specific emotional conflict someone might be having.
Yeah.
And the reason why we combine science with spirituality is to improve the overall well-being of that person.
Mm-hmm.
And in BNE, we have different way of behaving and understanding life. One of the things that we understand is something that, for example, Albert Einstein once said, if you don't like what you see outside, know that you cannot change it. But you can change your perception of that, and then your universe can change. Based on that, we understand also in quantum physics that which is being observed has a lot to do with the observer. Yes. So you have the power to change reality based on changing your perception. And when we begin to approach life this way, we learn, we grow, we change.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
I say this in this way. I can't change the situation, but I can change how I'm responding to it. That's the only thing that I can do.
And you can change also your perception about the situation, which is going to change the way you live this situation. You experience it.
When we were talking about having you on the show, and we were just kind of catching up, and I definitely had some things on my mind, you know, what was going on in DC with with our new judge, and she put me through a little exercise, and it was very helpful, but at first it's like, nope, I don't want to do this, but it was very helpful. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I said, well, Stephanie, you know, why don't we do an exercise to help her, you know, because she all of our attention was going on what's going outside. Yeah. But I said the best thing is to take the golden nuggets from it and realize, okay, what it is that we don't like outside, and put an adjective to it. So let's say that you are seeing somebody that is arrogant, and you qualify that is your judgment outside. You put arrogance, and then you begin to see how or in which way am I being either arrogant and I don't like that about myself, or I don't allow myself to be arrogant. And then the exercise is find the goodness in arrogance. Yeah. Because when you do that, it's sort of like being in two different opposites. When you don't allow yourself from being arrogant, and you see that one who is extremely arrogant and it bothers you. But when you begin to see the goodness in arrogance, because there is always something good in what you consider to be bad or undesirable, there is something good about it. When we pull ourselves to find out what is the goodness on that, then we come to the middle, to the center, where we can balance that judgment, where it's no longer this way or that way. And in that balance, we can find peace, and we can find ourselves comfortable, and we no longer are bothered by what we see outside, because we have found that inner peace. Yeah. And it's all a job that we do within. It's not, we don't even need to go and change the politician outside that is bothering us, or anyone else outside. It's just you changing your own universe. Like
so much comes up. I love it. This is good stuff. This is why you're here. So so that was the exercise. The particular thing we were focused on was lying, you know, and so I had to kind of come around that. And really what I'm hearing, and when you said this to me, I was like, oh, she's showing me how to relate with things. Right. You know, I love relating with things. I can do relating with things. Like, so I had to, like, you know, find my own relationship with lying. And like, fortunately, or the good part about lying, of course, is like, you know, the little things that you tell people, or even yourself in the mirror, my hair doesn't look that bad today, you know, or whatever it is. Like, so there was, you know, goodness. And The other thing that I didn't say to you, because we did, I think, you called me a day after and said, how's that exercise working, Stephanie?
Following up on
yeah, like what's going on? I was like, it's hard at first. Yeah. But the other thing that I thought, someone had told me at one point that the person that has the most flexibility in a room has the most control.
The most what?
Control. And what I liked about this exercise is when you're developing flexibility, you know, when you have a better relationship with these things, control might not be the right word. Now, control feels the wrong word, but it has authority. When you're flexible, you have authority.
Power.
Yeah, and yeah, because if we're not being flexible, then it's like it's just this: someone's going to be right, someone's going to be wrong. But flexibility, people will listen when you're being flexible, and you can help maneuver a situation. And I think it's like actually the number one thing that we need to see more in the world. Like I call it middle making, and I'm not saying you have to compromise in middle making, but you just need to be flexible enough to take in all of the variables and all the information, and then be able to relate with everybody that has their different lens on, you know, in that situation.
What I have come to understand is that the more polarized you are in an opinion, the more you're going to find the opposite come to you, and that becomes an aggressive, confrontational situation sometimes. But it all starts with your own polarization, with your own taking a side onto something. And I'm not saying that we're not supposed to take sides, but this is the thing. Things that in life are not either black or white. There is a whole bunch of grayness in there. And when you begin to realize that the thing that really is going to bring peace is your ability to be in the middle. Yeah. You know, and I always choose this, look at my arms, you know, there is one on this side, one on that side, and the more you are on the streams, the more you're going to feel the movement. But as you enter into your own heart, in the center, then you are balancing right there. You are balanced because at this point, you're not connecting to the opposites, but you're connecting to another source.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You are connecting to the source of it all. And then the source of it all, who created everything, does not have preferences over black or white. Yeah. Because there is everything in it.
It's not by default that the heart is in the middle, is it?
Correct. I agree.
It's a design. It's the function of the design.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there is only one heart, not that we have two arms, two eyes, but one heart.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, we're in such a beautiful place, but not to just to kind of go back and forth with what your story is and your experience with this. So before you discovered this, what was life like, you know, for you personally, your daughter, you want to talk about?
Yes, it was very, very difficult and very challenging because my daughter was somewhat normal up until age 3. Mm-hmm. At age 3, she started having seizures, and the diagnosis kept coming of her not being a normal child. And every time we met with neurologists, they would give us more dark and gloomy diagnosis. And so at that point in time, I was surrounded by fear, by lack of power, I felt lost. I felt despair, to say the least. As I kept driving, I remember driving from doctor to doctor throughout town and not finding the answers that I was asking questions and didn't have the answers. Because doctors don't have all the answers. And that was extremely frustrating.
And they're treating symptoms, or I mean, they're treating...
Right.
Yeah.
But everybody's different, and and I understand that doctors don't have all the information because they are limited to also the medications that they have. They're limited to the knowledge that they have. And in the meantime, I just kept finding myself in this darker place, in this sadness, in this reality that I couldn't understand. And after I found BNE, it's been different because then I understand now that everything that happens to you. It has to do with you. And the most important part is that if you are really creating this reality, and if it's there in front of you, that then you also have the power to change it by how you perceive it, by understanding where it's coming from. One of the things that we do in BNE that is unusual to other techniques is that we actually look back at our ancestors, our ancestry. Why? Because we have come to understand that in our DNA, we are not only carrying the information that makes us look the way we look, that we look like our ancestors, but we also have information passed on to us. Information from our ancestors. Just to give you an example, let's say one of your ancestors was dying of starvation at one point in time. That information is passed on to future generations. And who knows, maybe these future generations are trying to find a solution to that conflict one way or another, even though they're not conscious about it. It's more like they decide to work in the food industry, they decide to become dietitians without knowing why they have a passion for this. But it's that unconscious information that was hereditary about that ancestor. So we always go to see, in BNE, we always go to see what is behind the curtain. In other words, what information is in the subconscious or unconscious mind that is generating that reality that you are living. And so when you realize what's there, you can understand what's that you are living, and then you feel empowered to change it. Because when you bring into the conscious awareness, that information is no longer, that loses its power to continue to attract the same situation over and over and over again.
So you found, so how did it come to you? How did BNE come into your life? Were you just searching a lot on the
I remember somebody sent me a video about my professor, whose name is Enrique Corbera. He is the one who started BNE. He is from Spain. And he sent me, some friend of mine in Mexico sent me a video about a conference that this guy was giving, and it was like 3 hours, and I couldn't think about, 3-hour conference. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this, but when I started watching this, I couldn't stop. And I wanted to see more and more and more. And there was a point in time when I even felt like I just wanted to leave my body, because my body was constraining me to this time and space, and I just needed to go out and learn this and then come back and put it into practice. And so I had to wait and take classes and go in different parts to study these, and that's how it came about,
So first it was really something for you to help process and understand what's going on with your daughter. So you really were putting practices in place for you. How have you been able to share this with your daughter? Like how?
I think I finally came to terms to understand that everybody has a different purpose in life, and that my daughter's purpose was different than mine, and I just had to understand that. Because at one point I wanted to so desperately change that situation, and I wanted to keep her healthy and improve her condition. And the more I try, the less I was able to do that. And at one point I came to just surround myself to what it is and understand that whatever it is happening, it is there for a reason. And that she has a different purpose. And now when I step outside of the situation and I look at it from a higher perspective, I realize that without that situation, I wouldn't learn what I learned. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be in the position to help others. And that whole situation with my daughter has been the catalysis for a greater conscious awareness. And I wouldn't change it for anything else. And so I begin to see the perfection in it all, whereas before I couldn't even see that. I was so lost and confused and thinking that I was depressed and for the reality, but now I see as the greatest gift ever.
Yeah.
Change the perception.
And it changed how you're relating with her, right? So
Absolutely.
as you are trying to care for her and you're feeling frustrated and stressed, and she can't communicate in the same way you can communicate with her, but if she's feeling your stress and your anger, and then is she reflecting that back? And then as you found this and started practicing this and reflected more of the joy and understanding her purpose, is she reflecting that back? Like,
Correct.
how did that change?
Yeah, it's sort of like it creates a much better environment at home, where I am a lot in a completely different space, where I am a lot more calm, more collected about it, and I accept things as they are, and I accept her situation as it is, and I get to spend quality time with her and just dance and just find different things that that are important for her, and so yes, that is what has ultimately made a change, where I'm not struggling to understand reality and cry about and feel sorry and I feel a victim of the circumstances. Now I feel empowered, and I feel completely happy for the circumstances for what they are, And
you know things about her, right? Like, what kind of music she like. You
Yes.
have different ways of communicating, because now you can listen to her. Like, you can be there for her in a different way than just the caretaking, right? Like, you're learning about her.
Right, and you mentioned music. She loves music.
Yeah.
And if that is what's going to make her happy, I put music all day long, and she enjoys it, and she's in a happy place of her own. She's 21 years old. She doesn't walk. She doesn't talk. She's on diapers. And she's like a 7-month-old baby. And every time someone comes in contact with her, you can see and sense the sweetness of her soul. And that's an experience I would never change. I am so grateful for being the mother of Isabella, and for this experience and being able to stay home and take care of her, and get paid to stay home and take care of my daughter. How many mothers wouldn't want that? I'm so grateful for that, for all of that. And even though at times, and I have to tell you this, even though at times I see other parents and they're parenting their children, and I realize that they have certain concerns about their children. For example, when they start dating and how they're going to get married, and the religion they have, and the political system, and who they're going to vote for, and the life they're going to have. I don't have any of those problems. My daughter can care less who's the president of the United States, or which religion do you have. She's going to love you and accept you for who you are. And so I look at the differences, and I am just always grateful for what I have.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
She reminds you that's really the point. Right?
Yes, she brings me down to the ground instantly. So there might be turmoil going on in the city. There might be turmoil going on with politics, and when I am with her, nothing matters. None of those things are important. Music is important because that makes you happy right now.
Yeah. You get to live in the now with her.
Yes, in the now, exactly.
So obviously this is why when you discovered why this is so important, because you have this fresh perspective, and both with you and with Isabella, that everything's purposeful. And
yes.
Where have you seen, so I know you're a practitioner, you're helping people, you do workshops, you do one-on-one consulting. Where have you seen it impact other people's lives?
I think more than anything is empowerment. And I keep saying this over and over again, is at one point we feel disempowered, and we give our power to doctors, to lawyers, to politicians, and then they become the one to blame for in case something goes wrong with your life. But through BNE and the practice of BNE principles, we change those things to where you become empowered about whatever it is that you desire to do, and you go for it regardless of what is being said to you from the outside world,
Yeah, And do you think that empowerment is spiritual? Is that, I mean,
a lot of it is.
Have you worked with people that were, I don't want to say this, kind of anti-spiritual, maybe anti-religion, and so they had thrown spirituality out and had to open that door again for them?
We need to understand something. Spirituality is not the same thing as religion.
Right.
I mean, there is a spirituality in religion, but you don't have to have a religion to be spiritual. And so when we talk about these principles that we talk about in BNE mainly come from the Course in Miracles. It's a book, it's called The Course in Miracles. And we put them into practice. And they go really well with all the scientific data that is coming about from physics, from quantum physics, biology, psychology. And we're merging these principles to make it work for humanity. Whereas before, everything was separated.
Right.
You go to the doctor, and there is a doctor for the heart, a doctor for the brain, a doctor for the skin. Now is wholeness.
Yeah.
We're going back to understanding that
everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
Yeah. There's two things that keep popping in my head that I want to share and connect to this, so people understand how I connect to you and vice versa. So when you say ancestry, I do this thing, I think I shared it with you. I love holographic repatterning, or I think it's called Renaissance repatterning. And I've been seeing a practitioner for probably more than 10 years, probably 15 years, because I've had someone in Dallas. And the one that I have here, we've had a long relationship. I really trust her. I love seeing her. And one time, after years of seeing her, she's like, "Oh, fun stuff. This is what we're going to talk about today." And I was like, "What? She goes, "Well, something's coming up 2 sides back on your dad's side, not even in your life cycle." And, if she had said that in the beginning, maybe I'd be like, "Oh, this is a little woo-woo, I don't understand." But I have a relationship with her. And so when she said it, I totally accepted it. And, in that session, what was coming up is like my grandmother had a brother that didn't live. And, he died at a very young age. Well, not yet, he was like 18. So he didn't go into his adulthood. And he was coming through saying, "Use your voice." Like, I didn't get to use my voice. Use your voice.
Yes.
And it was weird because in dreams and even just like the little spiritual voices that pop in your head, sometimes he had come up before, and so when she told me, I was like, "Oh, I know who this person is." Like, so there's that part of spirituality that I always encourage people to know. Like, there's no accident that you were born into the family that you're born into, and you're carrying this information.
Correct.
And it's really powerful. It's such an accessible book of knowledge if you allow that stuff to come in. And you're right. Don't worry about religion. Don't worry. Don't worry about any of that. But allow that stuff to come in, because it's going to be helpful for you. It's going to guide you. And then the other thing I wanted to share that happened this weekend is I led what I do these shared experience facilitations where I help people just kind of warm up to each other and talk. We kind of do this before the show. And I said something like, "I guarantee you guys, if you do this, you'll have this life-affirming moment." Well, some people in conversations afterwards are like, "Yeah, I'll try," or whatever. But I realized I got a life-affirming moment out of this event, and I didn't know until I woke up the next day, where someone said to me, "Do you have pictures of redwoods in your studio?" I said, "No." And she goes, "Oh, you need to have pictures of redwoods. You need, absolutely." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, do you know that redwoods are all connected? That their roots are not deep. Their roots are on here, like on the surface, and that's what keeps them, these huge, gigantic trees, in all of their beauty."
Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
And I was like, and it hasn't totally, when I remembered this person saying this to me, I just felt a flood of like, that's really important to you. You need to remember how connected everything is, and these gigantic, just beautiful works of nature. That they are connected.
Yeah.
And if that's connected and it's beauty, like we are too.
Absolutely.
We are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just these and so I think, you know, and I'm learning about being unique through you, but I think what it is it's like helping you develop this practice where you have new insight, new abilities to prevent physical stuff from happening, ailments potentially. No.
I'm not sure you can prevent them, but you actually cannot prevent them. But what happens is that we learn to read our mind, to read our body, to communicate with our body, so that our body is always going to tell us what is going on an unconscious level. And when you become conscious of it, because your body is talking to you, is explaining to you, and you understand the language of the body, then that's when you become aware of the conflict, and then you begin to seek a different way to perceive it.
So let me see if I got that right. So if I have a stomach ache and I spend some time with like, okay, what have I been doing to get to this? Because it's not, you know, it's clear it's not food poisoning, but I just have a stomach ache. Usually my stomach aches are kind of nervous energy, you know, something's not right. But if I pay attention to that, then I have new information to maybe correct that thing that
emotional.
Yeah.
That emotional way you're perceiving it.
Yeah.
You're perceiving it in a way that is making you sick.
Yeah.
But it could be that I'm right next to you.
That's really important, I think, what you just said. So you're perceiving something, you're allowing, it's like a story you're telling yourself that's not serving yourself, and that's what's making you sick.
Correct. Because think about this, our perception has always to do with our belief system, our thoughts, and all of that comes from our experiences, even though experiences from we were very, very young that are there in the unconscious mind. So all of that has to do with your perception of life. It's the past, basically. And so every time you see something new, you attach that new image to something that you have in an image that you have in the closet. You understand? So it's not like you can see something fresh and innocent. No, you are relating it to an image that you already have from a previous experience, preconceived notions, what they call it, you know? And so if something is getting you sick, there is usually something in the past that you were not able to deal with emotionally, right? And when you're in front of something that's similar, it creates a reaction that your body is going to show you, that how you've been perceiving situations like that
it's not working for you.
Is not working for you, and you need to just change your perception. Sometimes change your perception is not that easy, you know, but at least you're beginning to become aware that your perception is what's getting you sick. So how can I change my perception? And then this is how people come to me. Or this is how you go and begin to open yourself up to receive different information. Because you and I can be sitting right next to each other, observing this same event, and you can get sick from it, and I can be like totally okay. Why? It has to do with your experiences, with your information that you carry. Because we are energy plus information. That's what we are made of, energy and information. And if there is a situation that resonates with the energy that you have, or the information that you have, I should say, then you're going to undoubtedly react to that information, to that reaction.
This is why I said it at the beginning of the show, why I think we need to have a better relationship with change. Because when I hear you say all this, also, what comes up for me is like, you know, as you miss the opportunity to pay attention to these cues, the consequences get greater and greater. You know, if you don't kind of check in and go, what is that? You know, why am I relating to this in such a way that it's harmful to me? You know, I need to look into that. And so I think, you know, this relation, and there's that, and then there is all that outside stuff, and I think a lot of stuff is piling up, and these consequences are getting a little bit greater, where there needs to be just a better acceptance to change, and like you said, it's not easy, but give yourself credit for momentum, you know, for little things moving in that direction, because it does change the course, right? It doesn't have to be big change. You're not going to have something that you looked at every day and it made you so sad that, you know, you you didn't want to leave your house, that sadness is not going to go away in any type of action.
Right.
But to start to change it over time, it will.
I agree. I totally agree. And the more important part is your willingness to change it. Because if you come to a session and you realize what is affecting you and you don't do anything about it, you're just wasting your time. You know, you're just wasting your time. You really need to understand that we need to make an effort to change and change it.
It's kind of like the other thing I look at this, I think resistance to change is what makes people sick.
Yeah.
And I wonder if what your thoughts are on this. So I've started to realize that growth is a natural order of things. It's a natural law that we're born, we grow, we die. So the idea of being new information coming at you, and you're having some reaction to it, and you're not willing to change, you have such a strong resistance to change, it's actually going against a very universal natural order of things, and you will be in pain for that.
Yeah.
You will be in significant pain for not leaning into a natural order of growth.
And that's why you begin to see a lot more illnesses and pain at older age, because you've had all your life to make changes and you haven't quite gotten to make those changes.
Yeah.
And so things will continue to repeat in your life until you get it, until you finally make that leap of faith and change.
So if this is really the hub of it, helping people have a better relationship with change, I think is just like trying some learning things. Like, what do you think about that? Like, when you're when you're working with a client that you're like, whoa, major resistance to change here. Like, what are some small exercises or things that you could suggest to them to have a better relationship with that?
Well, a lot of the times when we work in the unconscious mind and you become aware about your fears and you become aware about your perception, that awareness itself melts down the resistance of change, because you become conscious about something.
Age-old, the first step of solution is admitting there's a problem.
I agree.
Yeah, so that awareness.
Have awareness.
Yeah.
Have awareness of what is your emotional conflict.
Yeah. And honestly, like, that should be a really easy thing. Like, if you're constantly angry, I mean, if you're constantly on social media and you're in this outrage, like, how is that working for you? How can that possibly be working for you? Like,
complaining is not going to change anything.
Or back to your analogy earlier, if you're always on this polar side of, like, you're such a strong opinion and it is really, creating a strong reaction on the other side, like, how is that working for us? Like,
I agree. I agree. There you go.
It's really, right? There you go. We just solved all world's problems with that. Yeah. No, I tend to want, and I think you do too. You have I tend to want to lean towards, like, playfulness and little steps and joy and love and happiness. That doesn't mean that I don't experience the deep darkness of sadness and isolation and all of these things, but I try to right, that's our human condition.
Yes,
right?
We come to do a lot of that, to learn from to experience emotions. Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about in BNE, because it's emotion part of the BioNeuroEmotion. So experiencing emotions is very, very important. And let me just tell you something. A lot of times people are not willing to feel their emotions, because let's be honest, who wants to feel anger? Who wants to feel rage? Who wants to feel sadness? Who wants to feel pity? These emotions are not pleasant a lot of times. So people just, they grab the emotion, they put it back in the closet, and they pretend everything is okay. But eventually that sadness becomes a depression, because we're not putting our full attention to it. That anger becomes anxiety sometimes. Things become worse, because the best way to get rid of these emotions is feeling them. It's not avoiding them, it's not putting them
Yeah.
aside, it's allowing your body to feel the emotion and be aware of it. Like, I am sad. And if I am sad, well, if I need to cry, cry. Do whatever you need to do. Allow yourself that time and that space for feeling the emotion. And I guarantee you, the emotion will eventually begin to dissipate by itself. Just by you giving this, okay, let me feel it.
Yeah, I know that at this age. I know that to be truthful because I don't know why. I would like to learn more about my ancestors to find out where I got this, but I'm always willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But at this age, I've made such a practice of, yep, that didn't feel good. Like I did something this weekend that I felt like that wasn't my best. Like I could have done it better. And then I woke up the next day and I was like kind of insecure and not kind of down on myself, right? And I don't even have to think about it anymore. I just go, well, that's where we are right now. We're gonna just be in that space because I know it will dissipate. It's that momentum that I so totally believe in and have experienced at this point. Like
it's being honest with oneself.
Yeah.
It's honesty to the core. And that's where things are going to start changing.
Yeah.
And dissipating. And just the more honest you are with yourself and your emotions, that more at peace eventually you will be.
I think that's why it's so important to support any community that's been marginalized in any way, shape, or form, because the idea of putting more authenticity in this world, just think about that for a minute, like to be on this earth and not being able to be your authentic self because people are perceiving you as different gender or perceiving you as less than or whatever. But I think it's really important to help people because of this reason, because more authenticity in this world is really, really important.
I agree.
So yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree with that one.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. So sometimes we ask an off-topic question just to kind of get to know you a little bit more. But I think before I do that, because they're kind of silly, it'll be some silliness. You never know what's going to happen.
Silliness is okay.
Yeah, right. Silliness is okay. I know you're a person that experienced this world with just great passion, and I'm curious, like, what's your greatest hope? Like, what do you lean in towards for your own life, your work? Like, how do you want to, like, do you think about this? Like, what's your areas of hopefulness?
I always hope for people to take their experiences, even as mundane as they might be on a daily basis, that these experiences that might appear uncomfortable, unpleasant, and make the best out of them. Because that's, to me, the way I feel is pick up the golden nuggets in this muck, I would say, and take them, because there is always a reason for it. There is always a lesson behind the experience. So give awareness, conscious awareness to the experience by just noticing what's the gift in it. Maybe you're not going to be able to do it immediately, but look back at it and see the goodness that experience brought to you. And don't forget to do this. This is so important. On a regular basis, look back at what you just lived that was not pleasant for you, and why was not pleasant, and how could you have done it better. And just, this is practice. Life is nothing but a school ground, and we're here to learn from life. And if we don't learn, then the lesson will be repeated. And then it's going to hurt even more so eventually.
You just gave us, I think, the perfect, because we always issue a social challenge of the week. I think you just gave us the perfect social challenge of the week. And I think it's asking this question, what can I learn from this? So developing a practice where you ask the question in hard times, what can I learn from this? But don't wait for a hard time to start doing that. I think asking yourself every day, what can I learn from this day? What can I learn from this encounter? What can I learn from, even this joy, so it doesn't have to be just the dark stuff, the problems. Like, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this time that we had together?
And if that is just too much for someone, throughout the day, we're going to have encounters that were uncomfortable, undoubtedly. Even when you're driving, you're going to find encounters that were not pleasant.
Especially driving in LA.
Right?
Yeah.
So in those moments, just find out what can you learn from it. I remember one time somebody honked at me, and you know how it is in LA. And then I said, what did I do to generate this, and how can I change it? The answer that came to me is like, you cannot control others, but you can definitely control how you respond to others. Yeah. And begin to hone your energy in the controllables. And learn, from any mundane situation that we come across, pick up the gold nuggets. And then that's what we're meant to do here on this planet. I truly believe,
I believe that. When someone honks, that has actually happened on my way here, that I had the walkway because I walked to work, and someone was turning, and he was waiting because I had the right away, and the person behind him laid on their horn. Like,
right.
Really? And sometimes I just giggle because I'm like, that's just such nonsense. But I try to be really empathetic. Like, that person was really stressed out right now. Like, they're having a really tough day.
I agree.
If they had to lay on that horn so severely and not have the awareness that there's like a human being about to be run over, and that's why this person is going a little bit slower. Like, they're hurting. So, I giggle sometimes first and then go, ugh, send some love to that person.
Right. It's understanding, but if we go deeper and we find out, why am I experiencing this, go just a little deeper, and how, what's my judgment, and be honest about your judgment, what's my judgment about this situation, and then apply it to yourself. How am I being judgmental about myself in these regards? And that's where we even go deeper in learning, and it's not pleasant, and it's not something that is easy to be done, but I guarantee that you learn so much about every single experience, and it transforms you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you start with. That's how we started all this. You had to do that exercise, and I had to be
and it's not pleasant.
It's not pleasant,
No.
but again, going through the unpleasant side of it, like, there is. However you want it, there's light, there's joy, that experiencing some darkness only allows you to experience the joy and love and the greater things that life has to offer in a deeper way, I think. That doesn't mean I want more trauma or darkness, but I know that it's appreciation, it's a gratitude to like really see the gift.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to pray in the long time ago. I used to pray when I wanted certain outcome. Like I would pray for certain political candidate to win, or I would pray for a certain team to win the football game. And now I realize, no, what I am actually praying, and what I really want to pray for, is for the road of more awareness. So sometimes the president that I wanted might not win, but the one who wins might bring the awareness that was necessary. It might not be pleasant, what we're experiencing, but at the end of the day, it's the awareness what matters, and that's when you win. You win when you pick up more awareness, more conscious awareness about situations,
Yeah.
And who cares which candidate won? If we as a nation, or if we as individuals get to walk away with a lesson from it.
I like that. I like praying to God, Spirit, at night, to enter in and whatever needs to be healed in me, to come in there and do your thing,
Yep.
To have, and that's an awareness prayer, I think, too. It's just like, look, I know there's stuff. Help me out. You can come through this door tonight and just work it out and give me more awareness of what it is, so I can deal with it, to show up in a better way, that I have more awareness for other people. And
I agree.
in my own stuff, when things bother me as well. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I'm not even going to ask you a silly question, because I think this is a beautiful place to end. This was such a great time together and a good conversation. And I hope people are listening and find some hope and healing in this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Agree.
So your link is on our screen right now, and we'll be sharing your website. Do you have any workshops or anything coming up?
I haven't scheduled anything. I was thinking about maybe in December, but I'm taking a little break right now, and then I will schedule something coming up, but not right now.
All right, so we'll know. Well, if you go to our website, you'll be able to see that when it comes up.
Thank you.
And follow her
I'm
on social
excited.
media and all of those things. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This was great.
Yes, likewise.
Yeah.
I agree.
We're gonna have some great times off camera, I think, too.
Yes.
So next week we're going to be joined by Davis Hsu, who wrote this book called Untethered, and he works for a social impact agency, and he did a deep dive in what is creating a lot of isolation in our country, and it's so well done, and it's a topic that we can't talk about enough. I think that when we look at these shooters and think people that are committing just horrible acts of violence, there's always an element of isolation, and I think really being more preventative about the isolation we're all feeling is an important topic. So we're going to be talking about that, and then, like I said, the social challenge of the week is really creating a relationship with this question: what can I learn from this?
Right.
I think a good time to start it, and I'm going to do this, so maybe I'll check in with everybody. I'll check in with you to let you know how it's going, but you don't have to wait for something bad to happen to go, what can I learn from this? Just ask yourself today at the end of the day. Maybe it's something you do with your spouse. In my case, it will be with Mr. Deeds. Deeds, what did you learn from today? No, but just ask the question and see what's there, and develop it into practice, because that's really what this show is about. We're really encouraging exercises, because everything else is advancing. Our consumerism, our the challenges in the world, our technology, all of this stuff is innovating in a very fast rate. So we need to catch up. Yeah. And I think practicing exercises of how we're relating with stuff, people, ourselves is the way to go.
Yes.
So that's your social challenge of the week, is to ask that question. I'm going to be sharing all of her links so you can get a hold of her. And I just want to say, as always, guys, I encourage you to relate with your core curiosities. See you next week.
Thank you.